Hello everyone and welcome back. This is part 6 of the match against Gribbly, the epic company versus company match. I don't know if you saw that before the screen changed, but we're down to less than half of our forces remaining. But this is an objective match and we do hold 2 objectives and we're kind of contesting 2 more. So it's still, I think, possibly anybody's game. And it is artillery phase, and I'm down to, I think, 1 piece of artillery. No, I still have 2. I still have 2 Reapers. So let's... Oh, but one of them is stunned for a turn, so...
They're both stunned, I think. Yeah, that's why I was shooting from the side with LB10s, trying to get some crease on criticals or something. I was kicking myself really because I pulled my VTOLs back and then I realised that after I'd thrown them across half the map, hang on a minute, I could I could probably go down there and have a go at the artillery. And I thought I'd risk it because I didn't know, if you'd have paused firing for a turn and tried to use the artillery as direct fire, try and shoot the VTOLs down.
Yeah, but they only have small lasers and machine guns, so...
I mean, with the artillery pieces, I mean.
Oh. Yeah, I didn't think that would be very effective at all. I didn't load...
It counts as a flag attack, so it negates the movement modifier.
Even with regular rounds? I thought you had to have special rounds for that.
Nope, regular rounds count as flak.
Oh.
That's why artillery count is pretty good for air defense.
I see. And is that direct fire only, or can they do that indirect as well?
That's direct fire only, so that's only within, what is it, 16 or 17 hexes or something like that.
But with visibility at 14 hexes, it doesn't...
Well, yeah.
As if I can see it, I can kill it.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like there's no range modifiers, there's no target move modifiers to the flat +3, so it's gunnery +3, and if you hit, you do the rounds damage.
Ooh, that actually would have been really effective, and I think there was actually a round where you were directly in front of me too, wasn't there?
Although only after you fired.
Yeah, because I didn't know you were going to be there.
Exactly, yeah, and I was I was careful to make sure that they had fired before loitering.
I wonder how much damage an illumination round would have done, because one of my long toms, that was all he had left, so that would have been
probably some underpants damage.
Alright, let's see if we can't finish this up this round. Now your Marauder is down to 2-3 movement. Yeah, I think these guys are just going to sit tight and try for a leg attack. Hope that you don't make your stand check, because you only get 1 with those movements.
Didn't he stand up last round?
Did he stand? I thought he was still prone.
No.
Oh, well. Too late now. Yeah, they're going to be out in the open. Of course, you can pretty much expect that I've basically abandoned that objective. The Raiden are going to have to move out. This building is down to 10 points of structure after being targeted by the Awesome last round. No, Lark, we have not won the war yet. We are, in fact, struggling to maintain even the objectives that we have. This is going to be rough. As a matter of fact, if I don't take this objective in the next round or two, things are going to be pretty bleak for me. About the only real saving grace I have is these reinforcements moving up here to support where the Flamehawk was and the Sprinter is. And the fact that he only has really the Wraith and the Phoenix Hawk left over here, I think, because the Wolverine went down last turn. No, that is not permission to use a nuke.
I'll give him one thing, he's consistent.
He is at that. It makes me wonder how many nukes there that get used in Gundam, because he seems to think they're common.
Well, that's the thing. Maybe it's 0, and maybe that's why he's so desperate.
Yeah, that could be true as well. Oh, it's my turn to move. I've just been sitting here looking around the map. Yeah, they're not going to get to shoot if they move at all, so we're going to hope we get something. Although, I mean, for what it's worth, other than my LRM troops, most of my infantry has managed to do a good job of surviving. Yeah, the Gauss platoons are not going anywhere. They're sitting tight and holding this objective. The one that is so heavily defended that you haven't even made a move for it, with the minefields and the fortress and the infantry, and was these guys, but they're moving on to something more important. He says nukes are super banned in Gundam. It's actually quite a big deal of contention in the universe, due to the pre-1-year war conflict driving humans down to half their population. So it's kind of post-apocalyptic in that sense. The World War III kind of happened, and this is the aftermath, sounds like. Because, I mean, that's kind of the same story as it was in Battletech. They used a bunch of nukes, they killed a bunch of people, they lost a lot of technology, and then they said, alright, no more nukes. Except in the periphery. He says, didn't stop them making a nuclear-armed Gundam in 0083 that was then stolen and used against the Federation. By Zeon or someone else? Because I didn't think Zeon sounded like the type that would do something like that. These guys over here trying to be useful. They've taken all match to try to get into position. Yeah. Because all the transports went down. Zeon remnants post-war hatched Operation Stardust, which stole the nuclear Gundam GP-02. When the Federation fleet gathered for an inspection for winning the 1-year war, a Naval Gato did a suicide run with the GP-02 on the naval inspection and eliminated half the Federation's remaining fleet in a single strike. Interesting. kind of reminds me of when in Macross, who was it? Sharon Apple's manager unleashed the what was it, the X something, the X1 Ghost Fighter at the Armistice Day celebration in Macross Plus. That was actually one of my favorite scenes in that series. Of course, it didn't destroy half the fleet. It was stopped by Isamu Dyson and Gold, which, you know, is, well, I got the wrong window up right now, but you know, my background with the 2 jets comes from that.
Ah, okay. Cool. They look quite cool, actually.
Yeah, that's the YF-19 and the YF-21. Dyson in the conventional style YF-19 is the gray one, and then the blue one is Gold in the YF-21, which is kind of like controlled by his mind. And they were high school rivals, and they were like continuing that rivalry as they were dogfighting, trying to stop each other from interfering with the celebration. And they came to an agreement, and they thought Gold thought he had killed Dyson, and he realized, wait, I was the bad guy all along. And they just kind of coast along for a few moments after that, and that's where that scene comes from.
Cool.
I think I want to hold off on this team for just a little while. Yeah, we can go ahead and move this guy or not. 4302, 4802, 43 and 48. Lark says, which Operation Stardust also pointed out the Federation's hypocrisy of signing the anti-nuclear Antarctic Treaty but made a nuclear Gundam. So yeah, political ramifications abound. It sounds like a really interesting story. I'm definitely putting that on my list of things that I will eventually get around to watching. Which specifically, which Gundam series would I find that in? He says 0083 Stardust Memory. It's a 13-episode OVA that bridges the gap between the original Mobile Suit Gundam and its direct sequel, Zeta Gundam. Interesting.
Have you noticed much effect from the ghost targets on the hit modifiers?
Noticed? No. They might be taking an effect and I'm just not paying close enough attention.
If you do notice any, I'll be curious, just
because
point them out.
I feel like
how it works.
I feel like that's within range of the ECM, right? That's not just a blanket. Like all of your mechs or all of my mechs get that modifier.
No,
right?
It's within like, what is it? Is it 5 or 6 axes of the ECM? Yeah.
6. Well, it looks like your ECM has a range of 6 hexes. But when I was firing with the Cannoneer and the Cudgel last turn, they were within that radius, but I don't remember seeing a modifier. We can go back and check the
no, but that ECM is not set to ghost targets, that's just set to normal ECM jamming, to jam the C3. If you switch it to ghost targets, then it doesn't do the other thing.
That might have been why I didn't notice if it wasn't showing me that I was within the radius.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been the crows have been orbiting around my mechs. They've been orbiting around the mechs over on the east side of it, so it would have affected. Hopefully, it would have affected some of the shots over there.
Lark says, however, if you want to start into Gundam but don't want to commit to a full TV series to start, I'd recommend the short 6-episode OVA, 0080, The War in the Pocket. Make a note of that. I mean, I don't feel like 13 episodes is that much of a commitment, as long as I can find it on like Netflix or something like that. If it's something where I would have to either, watch it like on a more premium service, that's generally going to be more of a deal breaker for me than committing to, 13 episodes would be. Yep, Tigress ejected. She had no legs and no arms.
Wait,
why is it?
Yeah, the tag and the semi-guided really helped hitting the Tigress.
Hold on, I never moved my LRM carriers. Oh, no, I know now why that popped up. Because apparently I stepped onto a minefield. Even though I was specifically trying to avoid that. Like, I saw it, I was going around it, I must have misclicked or something. But, yeah, apparently I walked through it, and I do believe it went from a 15 to a 10.
Oh, cool.
Let me pull up the round report real quick and double check that. I was like, wait a minute, I didn't move all of my guys. It's not on the round report yet because I guess the round hasn't ended yet. It'll come up when we're done moving. 0083 sort of requires context from the original show. Also, Gundam is basically scattered and near non-existent in Western streaming sites. Western fans have to make do by other means, sad to say. You might find the odd show here or there, but finding Universal Century canon content in a coherent timeline is basically nigh impossible. Yeah, I was gonna say, I know I've seen at least some of it on Netflix. But as far as which one specifically, like, I wouldn't have known what to look for as far as the titles. I feel like the Z comes up a lot in most of the titles, but like I just know that there is a lot of Gundam out there. Like at any given time, there's probably 3 or 4 different titles. Usually come up when I'm looking for some other giant robot anime on Netflix. But yeah, so 0080 and 0083 are ones to check out. He says, I think Netflix has Gundam Unicorn and Thunderbolt, but watching those is like reading issue 30 of an ongoing comic and then wondering why you don't understand what's going on. I will pay attention to which ones I'm reading and make an effort to watch them in an order that makes sense. I'll bet it wouldn't be too hard to just Google and find like several lists of, ideal watching orders for those. And now this moves here. He says he wrote his own. Yep, not surprised. As big a fan as you are, it seems like kind of one of the first things that you would do, trying to introduce people to the show. I mean, I'd be lying if I said I hadn't chimed in on discussions before when someone said, hey, I'm trying to get into Battletech, what novels should I read first? I guess we all have our preferences, but I made my suggestion and generally was met with assent. Thank you. I feel like that's probably true of any major fandom, is that you're going to have people who are more happy to guide and lead others in the proper way to get optimal enjoyment.
Yeah, although it's one of these things I'm not totally, if someone's interested in something, I mean, or think about it, if I've been interested in something, I've never asked someone, oh, what should I read first? Or what, I've just gone and either read it or watched it or whatever. And after all, that's how 90% of us got into the stuff in the first place. So I think I'm not sure if it's always a good idea to totally try and curate someone's experience in a particular way, because like certainly with the novels, I mean, people often direct people to various videos or novels for Battletech or whatever, and really, if they really don't know anything about it, there is a free PDF on the Catalyst, either on the Catalyst website or on Drive Through RPG, which is an introduction to the Battletech universe, which I have never seen anyone recommend, but it's like, that's its entire purpose. It's a broad, overall, general introduction.
The
so
primer.
Things sort of stuff me.
Yeah. Well, the question I was referring to earlier was specifically someone asking which novels should I read first. And someone had suggested the Warrior Trilogy, and I suggested the Grey Death Trilogy, and also the Jade Phoenix Trilogy. But then there was a time about a week later when someone said, how do I learn what there is to know about Battletech from a completely blind standpoint? And I did mention that the boxed set comes with a primer, which I think may be the same one as the PDF you're referring to.
Yeah, most likely, yeah.
I mentioned that there was a primer in the boxed set. I mentioned that there was lots of different sources of fiction, including the Shrapnel magazines, and also suggested that they check out Sarna, but I also pointed out Sarna is not something that you read cover to cover. It's something that you fall into a hole and following links until 3 a.m.
Yeah, I mean, it's also a specific tool for research. Like, if you're looking for, I don't think it's just to find out details or remind yourself about something, or to get the dates right, or get a context for something. It's just that I think some of the novels, a lot of the authors strongly disagree with each other about what is and isn't Battletech, and that they've got very distinct individual ideas and very distinct individual presentations of factions and stuff. So I think, and it does change, and like some of the earlier novels, like the Grey Death Legion books, are quite fun, and they do represent the early kind of 30-25, flavour that was around. But that was almost immediately, within a few years of that being published, they completely turned the lore on its head and got rid of the whole sort of Mad Max post-apocalyptic kind of mech warriors as knights kind of thing, and swapped to a larger, more nation-state thing. So, like, the Grey Death Legion books are great to read, but if you read them and then think, oh, this is what BattleTech is, and then every other novel and every other source book is fairly different from that, it's going to be a bit jarring, because first impressions can potentially have an effect.
Yeah. Someone in that discussion had also mentioned that the source books might be a good place to start, and my suggestion is try to experience a smattering of other fictions, short stories, novels, what have you, even in the games, and try to understand the broad strokes before you start getting into the source books, which are much more narrowly focused. Because it's such a broad topic that it can be. There is a wide array of interpretations. Like someone who got into the game reading Decision at Thunder Rift, then reading Way of the Clans, is going to be like, whoa, this is not what I signed up for.
Yeah. I mean, actually, you did make. That's one of the things I sometimes forget is like the games, like playing MechWarrior. Well, MechWarrior Mercenaries, or I guess MechWarrior Mercenaries 5 now, or the HBS Battlefield that came in, which I will always point people out because I think it's a fantastic, not necessarily for a lot of information, but I think it's the theme and the flavour, and the feeling of it pretty well. But I think source books, I mean, again, a lot of the videos people point people at are just summaries of stuff that's in source books. Like any of the house books have got some history in them, and you can still get the original versions of the early house books for free on Sana on the actual summary pages. So.
I did not realize that the source books were free on Sarna.
It's the old ones. It's the old house books, not the sort of better, or sort of more polished, more recent ones. It's the very, very old school ones, minus illustrations, I think.
But I mean, still, that's when I talk about trying to find avenues to introduce someone to the game, I'm trying to find the lower commitment things that don't cost either much money or time to experience, which is kind of why I shied away from suggesting the HBS game, because that assumes that they have a computer and enough money to spend on a computer game, whereas like if they had a phone, they can get the Kindle app for free, and like Decision at Thunder Rift is like $3 or $4.
Yeah.
But knowing that those source books are free, I will definitely start recommending those to people as a means of entry. I'm trying to respond to that guy with him. You're not moving him. Oh, Varank says he has all the hard copies of the old source books. So, true grognard status there. I've only got a couple of the source books. I've got, I think, what is it? The Wolf and the Falcon, I think, is just about the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah.
Ooh, that is tempting. That is super, super tempting. Yeah, I'm gonna do it. On a 0+ for short range. I don't care if it's 11s, I might hit that rotor. I want that guy gone.
Yeah.
I was specifically waiting for you to move him before I moved my sprinter. Oh, and he's not even that evasive. He only has a mod of 5. I had to laugh at that sentence as soon as I said it. So that's 4, 5, 6. That's gonna be like 11s. As well. Also, I noticed you got the Cannoneer in your bubble, but not the Cudgel.
That was a mistake.
Was that a misclick or a strategic error?
No, yeah, positioning error. Yeah.
Let's get you into some woods, or at least you're not out in the open. Oh, it would be really nice to take down that crow, though. I'm gonna try. I know it's gonna be 11s, but I really want that guy gone. For how many points he paid? He is 200 points. He is worth well more than that. For that speed and with that ECM. And now your uncontested air superiority moves. You know, it occurs to me that if you can get me down to 33%, you only have to hold one objective. What I should have done is kind of the inverse of that strategy. I should have tried to just hold one objective and just sit tight and let you come to me and hit you with LRMs and ELRMs until I had wiped out 2/3 of you.
Yeah.
But I decided to be all fast and aggressive.
Just looking at this carefully. Just give me a minute.
And you've got some options. I'm looking at Cheetah F11 number 2. Looks like the only one you have left to move. I'm guessing the J. Edgar and the Savannah aren't priority targets, but you could fly over the Clint, or the Barrage and his crew, or the Cudgel and the Cannoneer. You could even swing around and make a strike against the Reapers if you had enough acceleration, which I'm sure you do. Oh yeah, safe thrust of 10. So going back a little bit in the chat, Lark has also said, well, the thing is that Gundam is layers of context that leads to confusion because it's built upon you knowing the order you watch. Battletech and things about like 40K have that context too, but it's very open to start and wander anywhere. Gundam just doesn't work well that way. And that makes sense because Gundam is a series, more or less, whereas Battletech and Warhammer are more interactive universes, I think. Because when they wrote Gundam, they were trying to tell a story, whereas with Battletech and 40K, they were trying to create a space for people to play in. I think is what it comes down to largely. Oh, okay, I see you have moved. Oh, I did not see the Reaver earlier. I saw the Cheetah. And now I have a choice. I had been initially thinking that the Cudgel could torso twist and take shots at the Wraith while he's over there. Since he does have the network to the barrage, that's going to be a short-range shot, effectively, as someone who is already down to one arm. But now, I may have to twist the other way and take shots at that Reaver. And or the Cheetah. Oof, because I don't think the Cannoneer has line of sight to the Wraith, and he's also not going to be able to take a shot, I don't think, on the fighters. Gundam actually was supposed to be a one-off show. It actually got canned in its original 1978 run, then re-aired for a block in 1980 that launched it into its world-spanning popularity today. That's cool. It's always nice to see something get a second chance and flourish because of it, because it just kind of implies that it was either ahead of its time or it just the world wasn't ready for it when it first aired. And I feel like Gundam, with its mobile suits and more agile robot fights, kind of was in that way. We actually have sight on him on a 12 or a 9. Gundam is what started the real robot genre in terms of how we think about it today. Prior to Gundam, there were plenty of big robot mecha shows, just that they were all fantastical and superhero-like. Gundam was written for the mobile suits to essentially be the substitution for jet fighters in a war story. Yeah, that jives with my understanding of the series. Kind of like that's one thing I always thought was interesting, was that giant robots can fill a number of different roles. Like in Macross and Gundam, they fill more of a fighter role, whereas in Battletech, it's more of a tank kind of situation. Only it's like a super tank, but it's also, I don't know, like I don't know, like a medieval suit of armor and horse, like a knight's accoutrement. Alright, so the Anzu and the Orion both tagged buildings. The Crow tagged the Sprinter. The Achilles tagged a third building and hits it. That's an interesting little bit there. Are you seeing that, Gribbly, on the Achilles?
Oh, right, yeah.
Where it has the word hits.
It's a special extra hit, yep.
And then my Reaper hits a building. Actually, it looks like it hits several buildings. Or were some of these yours?
Some of those are mine.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Just the way it omits the name of the unit into the double blind kind of makes it look like it's my unit doing all of that damage. Mobile gun platform like Metal Gear. Yeah, it's like a super tank.
What heavy gear? They're more. The gears are more like one-man infantry fighting vehicles.
Huh.
They're more like infantry in a way.
Oh,
I think
he was talking about Metal Gear.
Sorry?
He was talking about Metal Gear, I think. Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, Metal Gear, sorry. Ignore me then.
No. But it is interesting that you mention that there are other robot series where the robots fill even like a third or even a fourth kind of role, where it's more of a combined arms kind of force, from what it sounds like.
Yeah.
So depending on what series or setting you're talking about, a giant robot can be a fighter, a tank, a combined arms kind of force multiplier, or in BattleTech, especially during the Succession Wars, it can be like it's always referred to as being like a knight's horse and armor.
There is definitely this sort of aristocratic aspect of that. Although I think really the sort of the training and lifestyle and effects would probably be closer to that of a fighter pilot for mechs, in a way. I mean, they're not. I mean, they are stomping around the battlefield. They are described as walking tanks, but they're. Yeah. I think they're slightly different to that.
Lark has added that Heavy Gear was inspired by Votoms, and the robots in those series fill similar roles. And then Heavy Gear is infantry analogs. Another great real robot series is the video game series Front Mission with their Wanzers. Yes, I think it was Front Mission 4 for the PS2. And again, that was very tank-like. It was actually the similarity to BattleTech that drew me into that one. All very good series that I've heard of. Giant robots are the best. Let me get off my soapbox now. Front Mission is essentially Japanese BattleTech. Yeah, I agree. I like the replayability of Front Mission. Like the one that I played Front Mission for had a really in-depth tactic where you could link mechs together and they could like do combo attacks. Like if I had two mechs linked together and they were on opposite sides of an enemy, and I attacked with one, the other one would then also attack him in the back. And that took like at least one playthrough to get the handle of. And then the second playthrough, I was like, okay, this is what I'm doing. This is what I need to do. And it was really good. That game is actually part of the reason I still have my PS2. Because I wanted to be able to replay it when I wanted. Alright, now you don't seem to have any targets, but can we maybe indirect fire over there? No, it doesn't look like that. Now how come? I know he's got LOS. He should be able to spot him. Let me try doing it this way. Yes. Okay. I'm trying something that I also have not got a lot of experience with, and that is indirect fire, and that's a 14. Oh man, if only these guys were part of the C3 network. Alright, so you've got no targets. Let's go ahead and put you back in direct fire mode in case you survive this round. Just in case you want to stream them one day, 1 and 2 have fan translations, 3 and 4 have official English releases, and 5 has a new fan translation. I wasn't sure if the rest of the series would be like Front Mission 4 because I did pick up a different one and it was very much more of a third-person shooter than the strategy game that I was anticipating. Oh, dang it. Oh, man, I screwed up. I screwed up something fierce.
How's that?
I was trying to figure out a target for my LRM carrier, the one that you flew over. And I didn't see a target for it.
Oh.
This is me with my head in my hands.
Yeah.
Like, I knew that. I don't know why I didn't think of it when I needed to think of it. I was more concerned with the Wraith, I guess. And how I couldn't hit him and he was going to kill my guys. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9... Jeez. How is that an attack against its side? You flew right over it.
Yeah, he's on full afterburner as well, so he should be slightly more difficult to hit.
But I mean, there's an additional +2 because I'm attacking against your side, even though you flew directly over me.
Which unit?
The Cudgel. Trying to shoot at your cheetah. And or the Reaver.
Because you can't fire into the hex, you're firing into the hex to the right. So I guess... Yeah, I would have thought that would be nose. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, they're both basically impossible shots. But then, if I click on a different hex on the path afterwards, it comes down to an 11. It's still against the side, though. It's 4 + 2 for running, +3 for velocity, +2 for the side attack. Well, I guess I'll shoot at the Wraith because that at least is a 9. Dang, I'm really not stoked about the LRM carrier not firing, though. 1 pilot. 2 pilots. Lord, I've got more pilots than I have actual units on the field right now, I think. I think I've got 9 pilots on the field.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
I suppose that's aerospace, yeah.
Would have been 10 if my artillery hadn't taken one of them out.
Yeah.
Alright, so the Phoenix Hawk missing the Clint on 11s. My foot platoon hitting your archer for 3 damage to the left leg. Apollo shooting at the building that my laser platoon is in, killing, looks like 2 of them. Foot platoon missing the Gauss rifle platoon, Wraith missing the SRM carrier, Anzu at the building and destroying it. I didn't realize that building was so fragile. I thought, oh, is that the objective building that you destroyed?
Yeah.
The one that had 10 points left? Okay, yeah, I had my guys out of there. And you destroyed the heck out of it. That ultra autocannon would have been enough by itself. Let's see, jump platoon missing the Achilles, Thunderbolt hitting that building again. Jump platoon hitting the Anvil for the right arm and right leg for 6 damage. Archer killing another one of my guys and leaving 10 structure remaining. The Marauder destroying the building and passing on 8 damage, which turns into 1. Killing 1 guy, but that building is going to kill several more when it collapses. Anvil shooting at my jump platoon number 3, killing 4 guys. The Orion shooting at the building that my Raiden power armor is in, but they receive no damage. Riflemen at the building that the Raiden are in, they still receive no damage, but it's down to 87 points of structure. Partisan at the jump platoon, killing 1, 2, 3 of them. Hawkmoth at the jump platoon, missing. Mantis at the Reaper, stunning the crew for 2 turns and destroying the building, the gun altogether. Destroying the other Reaper, so I have no artillery, no air support, and my vehicles are about to get kicked into dirt. Killed my anti-mech platoon with your Gauss rifles. Reaver at the Cudgel, missing both of his ultra autocannons and his first streak 6, dealing 12 damage to the right arm, right leg, and the head, forcing the first consciousness check, and then 12 more damage to the arms, predominantly the left one. Cheetah at the Cudgel hitting the center torso for 9 damage. The Cheetah hitting the SRM carrier in the front for 9 and the left side for 6. Penalties to the driving skill rolls, but nothing major there. Cudgel on the Wraith, landing a hit on his good arm. Sprinter landing a hit on the Crow to the left side. Let's hope the Barrage can follow up on that. Hitting the right side, hitting the rotor, but not hitting that left side. Hit the left side for 1 point. Oh my goodness. That Crow is just eating all of this fire and just taking it.
Yeah.
Just spreading it all around and missing with most of it. And then, yes, 3 more of my jump platoon die and the building collapse. Cudgel took 20 points of damage, needs a 6, gets a 7. And now you're going to kick the SRM carrier, I imagine.
Yep.
Now with the 2 LRM carriers and the SRM carrier and the Barrage, if I win initiative, I should have some kind of shot on your Wraith, no matter where you go. I think I've got enough mobility that you can't get away from LRMs and SRMs. We're down to 38%. You're down to 74%. So if I can get you down another 8%, you only need to get me down 5. And also I need to take this objective. Lark says, I guess what we're saying is we hope for a front mission stream one day. I don't know if I can find a way to input the PS2 into my computer. We do have a capture card for using the Xbox, but I think the PS2 only outputs in VGA, or not VGA, what is it, you know, the RGB? I don't know. We'll see. We might end up with an adapter or something that works. One pilot not doing anything. It says, nah, you emulate the first game with the fan patch and you'll play through all 5 games, or I will descend nuclear fire upon you. Let me just go ahead and get these pilots all out of the way. Oh, that guy's over there. Yeah, I'm about to sink 9 initiative slots just with ejected pilots.
Yeah.
Because why would I? Yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to game the system, but at the same time, and because it default puts them at the end of the list, it was like disadvantaging me by forcing me to move them last. So I don't want to do that either.
Oh yeah, no. If they're on the field, then yeah, that's what you should do. Yeah, yeah. I just think if it's possible to remove them, then I think it will make sense.
I mean, I'm trying to get them off the field when I can. But they're so slow. They're not going to make it. And some of them can't even move based on where they are. This guy's name is Tarif Kokhar. I misread that at first because the AR was behind someone else's tag. That reminds me, in the Fighting Bulldogs, we've got a technician named Dan Cook. And every time I see it, it reminds me of the comedian Dane Cook. What year does initiative syncs become standard? Around 2750, I believe. Maybe earlier.
Can we get double initiative syncs?
And I can't believe I missed the opportunity to launch 3 LRM-20s at your Reaver. And I did nothing with that unit. It's not like I took a less ideal shot. I didn't take any shot at all with that unit. Oh man, I'm such an idiot.
I wouldn't worry too much because I mean you can't threshold it through the nose with LRMs, so.
No, but I could have done something, I feel like. Maybe I would have gotten an aft shot or something. It's just, anything is better than nothing, you know?
Yeah.
Laser initiative sync. Yeah, the laser heat sinks kind of... They kind of lost me on that one. Not gonna lie. laser initiative sinks, though. That's funny.
Have you seen the radical heatsink system?
I'm familiar with the prototype heatsink system, but I assume what you're talking about is different.
Yeah, it's a later one. It's basically, I think you activate it, and on that turn, every heatsink dissipates one additional heat. But there's a failure roll, a bit like mask or something.
Mm-hmm.
And each turn you use it, it goes up.
Okay. So is that like a version of double heat sinks or single heat sinks? Because that could go
in
either.
addition to double heatsinks.
Oh, so it could effectively turn them into triple heat sinks temporarily.
So, yeah.
That is interesting. Lark says laser heat sinks aren't too far-fetched. It's just a double heat sink that doesn't get temperature bonuses or penalties. I thought it like made you highly visible when you were using it. Is that not the case?
In this game, it would. It doesn't go on, yeah.
But just the concept of turning heat into lasers. It's like, why would you not use that to power a small laser then?
Well, at that point, you'd be trying to store it for long enough to do that. And how do you do that? I think the laser heat sinks are just dissipating it as fast as they possibly can and we optimize for that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like someone heard of a scientific concept and they were like, that's a cool idea, but I don't think that realistically it's the kind of thing that would actually work. Like, it just seems like it bends the laws of physics a little bit too much for me to be comfortable including it in a game like this.
Yeah.
No, it's not. Lark says, to be fair to them, even there, the closest to absolute zero temps we have reached in labs was achieved by using lasers. That is an interesting point. I had not considered that. I'm actually not
sure. Although that's not using energy and channeling into a laser, that's actually using a laser to tune the vibrations of very, very small amounts of small things. It's just kind of the other way.
So you're putting...
I'd say the net production of heat by that system would be the power generation, like the combination of whatever power plus the laser plus the thing with cooling. The overall system, when you turn it on, the overall average temperature will go up, and the temperature of the laser will go up, but the temperature of the thing with cooling will go down. So I don't, yeah.
Kind of like how your refrigerator generates more heat than it removes from the food.
Exactly, precisely, yeah, yeah.
Hmm. Oh, man.
So with the Gundam Tech thing, do you not actually play your character in Megamek?
No, Lark does all of the actual tactical maneuvering, which is the way I have had it explained to me.
Okay.
Yeah, one of my first questions was, so when do we play? And they were like, well, we just read the reports. But apparently I did pretty well my first mission. I got 1 kill on a minor unit, got a couple of assists, and I didn't die, so that counts for a lot.
Cool.
Oh, I forgot to ask, was that in the Gelgoog, or was that in the mech that I was trying to trade up for? Yeah, actually, this kind of battle that we're doing here, where it's like a versus or even like a co-op kind of battle, is not something that I've seen a lot of on YouTube. I believe Casual Joker does something similar to this, where it's a co-op campaign, and I'm not sure how they make the larger, more strategic decisions.
I think it's mostly just they do. I mean, it's co-op, but it's against the bot, and it's like playing against Princess.
Mm-hmm. But they're playing on the same team against a robot, whereas we're playing
Yeah,
against each other.
Yeah, yeah.
Lark asks, did I swap a mech? I had you in the Gelgoog. Okay. Yeah, no, in the chat, I'm looking for my notes because I wrote down rather a lot of things that from the chat. But someone had mentioned that there was a mech in storage that was probably a better choice for a sniper role than the one I was in, the Gelgoog. And I'm not seeing that note right offhand. The dinosaur sorting his library of notes again. Yeah, excuse me. I just find it easier to just have a notepad handy, and sometimes I have more than one notepad, and sometimes they get mixed up. I want to hold off on you. You can move. Right? Why can't you move very far? Oh, just because you're slow. He says, yeah, I got a notepad handy too. Notepad.exe, baby. Yeah, but I'm not trying to pull that up while you guys are trying to watch me stream.
Yeah, some of these mechs on the east of mine have taken a surprising amount of damage from that little skirmish and a bit of artillery fire.
You're talking about like the Thunderbolt and the Rifleman?
Yeah.
A surprising amount. You've got two guys in the yellow. There was a couple turns ago where I was just looking at like all of my guys were in the red, and I'm just like, oh, I'm gonna die. No, I don't think I want to do that. Not when there's minefields there. Now, it seems to me that with the crow, you have a choice, and I'm not saying you have to move the crow next or anything like that, but when you do get around to moving it, you can either try to cover the cudgel and the cannoneer and break up the C3 network, or you can bug out.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying those are your only options, but those are the options that I see that I would be looking at most closely. Oh, I see a sensor return down by my base. I see a couple. You sending some scouts down to try to take this base now that I've abandoned it with all my mechs?
You're probably picking up VTOLs.
VTOLs can't cap an objective, can they?
No, I think we agree. Well, I think we agreed that ground units only for objectives. Otherwise, yeah, it'd be a bit silly.
I guess I hadn't moved all of my pilots yet.
I'm sorry, second.
Oh, I just was trying to sync initiative. I was trying to see who I had available, and I found like 3 more pilots at the end of the list that I missed earlier.
God.
I know it'll ultimately be moot because you did win initiative this turn, but I'm hoping to at least one of your guys will have to move, and I'll be able to take advantage of it. Yeah, these minefields over on the left side of the map really slowed down my advance. I'd probably be several hexes closer to that objective if I didn't have all those of my own mines to get around. Lark says nukes beat all initiative. Alright, what do we do here? Oh, that's no bueno. Alright, by my count, you've got 2 guys left. 3. How did you pull that off?
I don't know.
How do you have 3 guys left to move, and I only have 1? Probably because you outnumber me. Which, I don't know. I've always kind of felt like the front-loading initiative was more fair because it gives the person with more units, they have to move more units earlier. So it kind of, I feel like, evens that out versus like the standard initiative where you play until one team has double the unmoved units. And that to me seems like it advantages the person with more units. And that's...
Yeah, I've tried both. The front-loading initiative, generally, it screws over the person who's got more units massively.
But the person
I've tried it, and it's incredibly frustrating.
But rear loading the initiative screws over the guy with fewer units, and that's the guy that needs less screwing over.
Well, I mean, it would seem to be silly to have a disadvantage outnumbering your opponent, and it's kind of frustrating if you're outnumbering someone, but then you're just moving loads of units. And we can try a game with it if you like, but I don't think that smaller forces with larger units need any advantages. And the more benefits to, not necessarily swarm forces, but if you have slightly more units that are slightly lighter, I don't see it shouldn't make much of a difference. In a situation like this, where it's near the end of the game, where where both sides have taken lots of casualties, then it's going to be a bit different. But...
Well, I've played it both ways, and I do have a definite preference. I feel like front-loading initiative is the more fair of the two. I do understand that on tabletop it's harder to keep track of, so I understand why they did it that way. But for Megamek, there are a couple of initiative rules that I do prefer, like forcing, like separating the infantry from other units so that someone can't just sink all of their initiative with infantry units and then save their mechs for last, for example. I know we discussed that briefly, but also to answer Lark, yes, that is my cat. She is angry because she can't go outside, and she will just have to deal with it.
Yeah, the issue with moving infantry last means that you basically just lost initiative with all your units. So you may as well just not bother rolling initiative at that point if you've got any infantry at all. Because infantry will only move like 1 or 2 hex or whatever, and they'll always move at the end of the turn, so all of your mechs will lose initiative, and your opponent just has to wait until they've all moved. It doesn't work at all.
I've played around less with the infantry moving last, but as far as front loading versus rear loading the initiative, I do find that I have a preference for front loading initiative, just because, like I said, I feel like the team with the more units needs the less advantage than the team with the fewer units, generally speaking. And if I have more units than my opponent, I don't mind moving the majority of my units earlier in the team to kind of like counteract that balance. I don't know. You said next time we play we could try it, and yeah, I would definitely like to do that.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you end up in a situation like this where I'm down to my last unit and you still have 3 guys that haven't moved. Which to me doesn't seem especially fair. Now, I've only got a sensor return.
I've also moved a vastly higher number of units before that as well.
Well, that's because you have a vastly larger number of units at this point.
That's as a result of killing off. Again, it's like if you're killing off units on the other side, then getting penalised for that by then getting worse and worse initiative for it seems a bit. I don't know.
Lark, she is not begging for mercy. She's just being fussy. She does that. Her name was almost Miss Fussy because of how much she wants to go outside. It ended up being Nellie instead, though, because her dad was a cat known as Nervous Nell. Or Nervous... Yeah, her dad was Nervous, and so she was Nellie. Nelly, come here. She's fine. She was only really fussing because Gemini went outside, and she always fusses whenever one of us goes outside. She's like, I want to go outside too. As I think many cat owners can sympathize with. Let me just check real quick here. Aside from my infantry, I've got the 2 LRM carriers, the SRM carrier, 3 and 5 mechs. Everything else is either immobile or foot type units. And a lot of those are just pilots. Oh, well, that's lovely. Could have sworn I moved all my pilots out of fire, but I guess not.
That's a lot of fire.
She got turned into a pilot. Yeah. I don't know. I wish I could say that was unavoidable, but it was probably a user error.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big map. There's lots of pilots there, so yeah, it's going to potentially be a bit tricky.
Alright, yep, I missed my tag. You tagged a building, you tagged another building, and artillery did some damage. So we've got a 7 on the Orion. We've got a 10 on the Hawkmoth. On the battle armor, we've got an 8. We're probably going to shoot the Orion. Here's hoping for a golden BB. Right, I have to click done on those guys. to see something.
I wonder if the arc that it sounds like it's a fighter depends on its final orientation or its orientation as it flew over. Something.
Well, if it is supposed to be the orientation as it flies over, then something is definitely glitchy, because...
Well, that was only a guess. If that's not what it looks like, then just something that occurred to me. I don't know.
Yeah, because all of my shots against your fighters have all been against the side with that +2 modifier. Alright, Phoenix Hawk. Hitting the Clint in the right torso and the heat sink in the right leg, going internal for no crit. Foot Platoon on the Marauder, hitting the arms for 3 damage. Apollo shooting a building, taking it down to 80 points left. Anzu at the Raiden, missing on 10s. Thunderbolt at the Jump Platoon, killing 1 dude with his light Gauss rifle. Jump Platoon at the Orion missing, Archer missing the Raidens on 10s. Jump Platoon missing the Orion, Marauder hitting Hardened Fortress Building 520046 for 15 points, dropping it down to... changed to 7 because it's a Hardened Fortress Building, to 73. Did 2 damage to the Anvil. Anvil killed 2 guys, so that was fair enough. Orion missing the Raiden battle armor on 7s and 10s. Rifleman hitting the building for 8 points, changed to 4. Raiden missing, Partisan killing 4 guys, or no, killing more than 4 guys and destroying the platoon. Hawkmoth at the Raiden, dealing 3 damage to troopers 2, 3, and 4. Clint landing a hit on the Phoenix Hawk in the right torso. Gauss Platoon hitting the Raiden, trooper 112, killing trooper number 2. Achilles at the Raiden, dealing 2 damage to trooper number 1. Barrage needed 12s, didn't get any of them. Reaver at the Barrage hits the left arm for 20 points, and hits two of the SRM6s looks like, for the center torso, right arm, right leg, center torso, right leg. The cheetah hitting the SRM carrier in the right side for 6, and the other cheetah hitting it in the right side for enough to kill it. Cannoneer at the cheetah hitting that 12 to the right wing. Going into the structural integrity, it has 10 points left. Cudgel missing the crow. Barrage not falling down, needing a 7, gets an 11. Sure, we'll go for a punch on an 11. Not much point in kicking the buildings. Oh, Cheetah is out of control and crashes for 120 points of damage. I guess a Gauss rifle will do that. Nelly, stop being a butt. Alright, I know that you don't have me quite down to 33%, but at this point I will concede the match because it's clear that you're going to have 3 objectives here in just a second and there's not much I can do about it, and just in general it feels like my strategy and units have been relatively ineffective. So I say good game, sir.
Yeah, good game. Yeah, I don't know about ineffective. I mean, it's more... I did heavily weight one side, so that's...
But even on the left side of the map, where I had my heavy units, you were still just tearing me apart with what you were able to bring to bear. You took apart my Flame Bird in a matter of 2 turns. You were... The barrage...
40 tonner, right?
What?
Sorry, the Flame Bird was a 40 tonner, right?
40 or 45? I think 40.
So I got, yeah. Because he was moving into a company of infantry as well. They did quite a lot of damage to him.
It was... I forget who was shooting at him the first turn, but it was... He lost his side torso before he ever got to the infantry. Yeah, I think it was the Phoenix Hawk maybe that did that, or the Wolverine.
PPC from the Wolverine, I think.
Yeah. The barrage and the LRM carriers just weren't able to hit much of anything, and when they did hit, they were just spreading the damage around too much. That crow was just too much of a nuisance. I wasn't trying to devote too many resources to taking it down, but when I had no better shots, I was taking them. And I was a little frustrated when I left him with 1 point of structure on his left side and 2 points on his rotor. After lobbing God only knows how many LRMs at him. Because I think it was 120 LRMs per turn or something like that for like 3 turns, and he's still flying.
Yeah, I mean, I was trying to be as careful as possible. I did make one slight mistake with positioning, but... You know, I was just trying to be as careful as possible and get him close enough to disrupt your C3 network. And this is the thing: if you bring C3 and your ECM gets destroyed or distracted early, then it's vulnerable to jamming, which is I get it. That's super annoying.
Well, I honestly, and I think it's because I'm a noob when it comes to C3. I had put ECMs on the Savannah Masters, but that was more for their own protection than to work as part of the team, which was a pretty major mistake on my part. I should have used the J. Edgars more for scouting and the Savannah Masters more for just floating back and forth, keeping the C3 networks active. If I had known then what I know now, I would definitely do things differently. And you say that you made a couple of minor mistakes. I made several major mistakes. So I have no one to blame but myself. This was a hugely learning experience for me. I did learn a lot of things about combined arms and ECM and things like that. And something that you said earlier really resonated with me when you said that if your opponent is really irritated by your crow type vehicles, then you're doing it right. And you absolutely were. Those guys were so annoying.
But again, I mean, that's a sort of, it's also the psychological aspect of that. It's like, I'm thinking like when you were saying about, when I can't remember, I hit someone with the archer and it was there was something, you'd moved something right in front of it to get into the minimum range between it and like a couple of other guys next to it. And I just chose another target. At that point, I just tried to put it out of my mind and just think, right, yes, there is a guy right in front of me. He's probably going to kick me. Nothing I can do about it. Who else can I shoot? You know, so.
And then he ended up losing a leg and facing the wrong way and not being able to do a darn thing. I do want to blame Lady Luck a little bit. There were several times where I felt like the odds didn't pan out the way they should have. Like, I felt like there were a few times where I took 4 25% shots and didn't land any of them, or, you know, the equivalent thereof to the situation. But that's why I usually play more conservatively, because I've learned not to trust the dice. And in this game, I feel like I had a hard time getting odds that were in my favor.
Yeah. I mean, we both had a fair share of those. The thing is, you always notice the ones that miss.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, no, I think it was a good game. I think it was really interesting because that's the first time I think I've done a proper, you know, had everything in there. So artillery and aerospace and infantry and VTOLs and double blind and restricted lighting conditions. And I think that it works. The scouting and the double blind part of it I thought worked brilliantly.
I agree.
The only stuff.
The only thing I would change about the double blind was that I would have tried to find some way to give ourselves slightly more visibility, like 20 to 30% more visibility. I think would have made a big difference with the loadout that I had, because I was stacked on the LRMs and the ER large lasers more than anything else.
Yeah, I mean, so was I. You'll notice that most of my mechs had LRMs.
Lark says, so does the nuke get deployed now?
Didn't bring one.
Neither did the Fighting Bulldogs. The Fighting Bulldogs are a noble fighting force. They do not resort to such tactics.
Well, my quartermaster's too stingy to spend the money to buy one. So,
so yeah, that was a lot of fun. It was definitely a learning experience. Quite a lot of aftermath. I think my next game is going to be set in 3025 mechs only, just for some little real simple like downtime kind of unwinding. This was such a hugely complex and ideally it would have been a complex and coordinated attack plan, but my end ended up being less than coordinated. Trying to move my slower units into an attack position and my attack units getting decimated without support, and bringing the wrong ammunition.
Hindsight is 2020. The thing is, because I was hoping to push. My plan was move my mechs to that first objective, then down to the lighthouse, and then over to the fortress. And it took me 4 turns just to get past the bay. So my sort of grand plan of manoeuvre didn't. Yeah, it was a bit on the slow side.
I mean, in all, the whole battle lasted until, what was it, turn 13 or 14? Yeah, we're on initiative, we're on round 14 right now. So turn 4 to get around the bay. I mean, I don't feel like that's excessive. That's a long way you covered. That's almost half the map to the bottom of the bay. So I don't feel like 4 turns was necessarily too much of an investment. I am glad that I spotted them when I did, because it gave me a chance to try to react. I should have reacted differently. I should have had my faster units pull back and consolidated my forces instead of trying to take you on piecemeal.
Yeah.
Which did not work out well for me, but I was like, well, if I can slow them down enough with my fast units, then my slow units will catch up, and that was just entirely the wrong tactic. And yes, Lark, I'm well aware that my team lost, so calling them a farce is hardly helpful.
Again, I don't think it was fun. It was just deployment. It was just deployment and scouting, and then.
Yeah, I was expecting. I was expecting the recon to be a much more crucial part. I shouldn't have. I should have done my recon entirely different. I should have used VTOLs for recon instead of hovers for one thing, and fast mechs. I had a lot. Almost a quarter of my force was devoted to recon, and I really could have gone with like a 6th or an 8th.
Yeah, I mean, I had 6 VTOLs, which were common. But this is the thing as well. Like 2 of the VTOLs were pure scouting. 2 of them were a mixture of scouting with some small lasers for hunting your scouts, and then the other 2 VTOLs were purely for hunting. So I had 4 units that were fast, that were completely 100% devoted to hunting down, jamming, and then killing your scouts. And I was super satisfied about how they worked. So that's why. So to an extent, the level of frustration you had with the scouting was because I was trying to do that to you rather than any problem with the units you had or the way you were using them. You know.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go ahead and call it here. I'm gonna go ahead and end the stream. Got things I actually need to get started doing. I would like to thank everyone for joining us. Varank and Lark and everyone else. Simon Landmine yesterday, who couldn't be with us today, but we appreciate his input as well. We'll be doing, I believe my next stream will be the Challenger Deep on Thursday. And we'll finally finish that base defense mission that I started some 3 weeks ago at this point. Thank you, Gribbly. It's been a great pleasure, as always.
Yeah, thanks for the game. That was a lot of fun. It
was. And I learned an immeasurable amount. And honestly, you didn't have to be such a mentor to me, but you were, and I appreciate it. I learned a lot, not just from playing the game, but also from the things that you told me, which I wouldn't have figured out on my own necessarily. And with that...
Yeah, and it's just a fun game. It's just good to talk about.
Yeah. All right. Well, everyone have a good night, and we will see you later this week for the Challenger Deep, for the exciting conclusion of our first base defense. And don't forget to join the community. Like, comment, follow, subscribe.